Good evening, everyone. I'm your storyteller, and tonight I'll take you into online dates that turn into pure horror. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments where and when you're watching. Now, prepare yourself for the fear that lies ahead. Episode 1: The Call from the Abandoned Chapel. My name is Ethan Miller, born and raised in a small town in Pennsylvania. Perhaps because I lived in such a quiet, deserted place, I soon developed the habit of wandering, always searching for places no one else would set foot in. As a child, it was only sneaking into abandoned houses in town or climbing over the cemetery fence at midnight to scare a few classmates. But as I grew up, that pastime turned into a kind of obsession. I called it the joy of exploration, while others called it trespassing. I didn't care. I sought out places where people once lived, once bustled, and then suddenly abandoned. In that silence, I always felt something was waiting for me. A secret, a trace, or sometimes just the heavy stillness that made my heart pound harder. One late autumn afternoon, the sky was gray, the wind dry and stinging on my skin. I set out once again. My old pickup truck rolled along the dirt road leading into the forest. I had the habit of finding new spots with Google Earth, zooming in on patches of forest, fields, then marking blurry shapes that might be a roof, a barn, or some forgotten building. This time, I spotted a small square shape, a dark roof, deep in the woods, nearly a mile from the main road. It looked like an old chapel. And in my mind, nothing was more tempting than an abandoned chapel. I parked on the roadside, slung a small backpack over my shoulder, carrying a flashlight, a folding knife, and the old camera I always used to record my trophies. Stepping out, the musty scent of the forest hit my nose, the smell of rotting earth mixed with resin, pungent yet strangely pleasant. The path was unclear. I had to push through thick bushes, sometimes stepping on dry branches that cracked sharply beneath my feet. The wind wove through the canopy, rustling like whispers spoken in unison all around me. I tightened my backpack straps and quickened my pace. About 15 minutes later, I glimpsed a clearing through the trees. The closer I got, the faster my heartbeat raced. That was what enthralled me. The moment just before you uncovered something long hidden. And then it appeared. A small chapel, roof tiles rotten, stone walls covered in moss, standing forlorn in the open space. The stained glass windows in front were shattered, the shards smeared with dirt. Just ahead stood an old stone well, rim mottled with green moss, the water inside dark as a black hole swallowing all light. I walked up to the well, rested my hand on the icy rim. Peering down, I saw nothing but endless darkness. I held my breath, listening, and I heard a sound. Click! It echoed from the depths, clear enough that I knew I wasn't imagining it. It repeated, steadily, every 2 seconds. Click, 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 like metal striking stone. My throat dried out. I swallowed hard, tasting a faint trace of metal on my tongue, like biting my lip. The air around the well was colder. The damp, earthy smell rising made me slightly nauseous. I told myself, maybe just water dripping, but deep inside I knew it was different. It had rhythm, as though someone was making it deliberately. I stood there longer than I should have, almost hypnotized by the steady beat rising from the darkness, until a gust of wind rattled the broken glass, jolting me from the well's mouth. The chapel loomed before me, its old wooden door ajar, creaking with the wind. Inside was pitch black, still. I took a breath, touched the door frame. The wood was cold, rough beneath my fingers. I pushed gently. The rusty hinges screamed in a long, piercing note that echoed through the forest. A musty draft spilled out, the reek of rotted wood mingling with suffocating dust. In that moment, I felt as if I had awakened something that had slept here too long, and I stepped inside. The air inside the chapel choked me the instant I crossed the threshold. It was a smell of old decay, rotten wood mixed with incense long extinguished, layered with rust and mildew. I raised my flashlight, its thin beam slicing the darkness. The interior was ruined, benches overturned, some only wooden skeletons. Dust floated in clusters catching the light. Shattered stained glass let in slivers of sunset, painting the space in a sickly orange, like the flicker of fire in a nightmare. I stepped forward, boots crunching wood fragments. Ahead, the pulpit sagged to one side. Behind it, an arched doorway led into a pitch-black hallway. I froze, listening. Outside, the forest had gone silent. No rustling wind, no birds. Only my heartbeat pounding in my chest, and faintly, that click, click, again, seeming to come from behind the wall. I swallowed, the taste of damp soil clinging to my tongue. My hand trembled as I lifted the camera. The flash burst, lighting peeling walls where black mold crawled like veins. I stepped through the archway. A narrow corridor lined with decayed wooden doors, some torn off, some collapsed, only frames remaining. Cobwebs thicken corners, dust so heavy that when I brushed against it, it fell in white sheets over my sleeve. At the corridor's end was a heavy door, slightly ajar, darkness behind like ink. I pushed it, wood scraping wall with a shriek, and a cold draft rushed my face. I shone the flashlight. A rickety wooden staircase descended, each step warped, coated in moss. I stood at the threshold, shivering as cold seeped through my clothes, touching my skin like a damp hand. From below came a faint murmur, like someone whispering deep in their throat, language indistinguishable, only broken sounds. Then, suddenly, one word rang clear. "Hello." I froze. Breath caught in my throat. The voice was high, hoarse, neither woman nor child. The greeting emerged as if someone were trying to speak English, but twisted, broken. My chest tightened. Cold sweat beaded on my neck. Every hair stood on end. But I didn't retreat. I didn't know if it was curiosity or my own stubborn foolishness. I raised the flashlight and stepped onto the first stair. The wood groaned under me. Then the second, the third. Each creak echoing through the enclosed space. At the seventh step, crack, the plank split. I plunged down, crashing onto rubble, dust exploding. Pain shot up my spine. I cursed, teeth clenched against a groan. The flashlight flew from my hand, rolled several feet, its beam cutting across, then resting on a rough stone wall. I staggered up, back throbbing, leg numb. Crawling for the flashlight, another sound rose from the dark. Not a whisper this time. Closer, clearer, syllables twisted. "Hello?" The voice reverberated in the empty cellar. I swung the beam, broken furniture, dirt-strewn floor, damp stone walls, and something else. In the corner, a hole, like a hand-dug tunnel, barely wide enough for a person to crawl through. The walls jagged, shovel marks scarred deep, and from inside the voice echoed. I swallowed, throat raw. The stench of damp rot, rank as stagnant water, hit my face, gagging me. I stepped closer, light trembling on the tunnel wall. "Hello?" This time the voice was right before me, then abruptly silent. Only emptiness remained. I froze, spine icy as though breath chilled my back. Then click, click, metallic rhythm resounded again, this time from within the cellar, louder, engulfing the space. My chest convulsed. Every instinct screamed to flee, but my feet stuck, mesmerized by the void. I stood rigid before the tunnel mouth. The clicking echoed deep inside, steady like a heartbeat of something alive. Then another sound, breathing. Wet, ragged, like someone gasping right behind my ear. I shuddered, skin crawling, blood pounding until my ears roared. "Hello." The voice rang again, now so close it seemed inside my chest, distorted, shattered, like torn vocal cords. Panic surged. I staggered back. Each step crunched dry dirt, yet I heard it clearer. Another step, sliding over damp stone, moving outward. Thought vanished. I bolted toward the stairs. The flashlight trembled in my hand, beam whipping wildly, catching moldy walls like skeletal arms reaching. At the stair base, I froze. One step broken, leaving a deep gap. No time to think. I gripped the rotting railings, hauling myself up. Wood screeched, splinters pierced my palms, blood sweet on my tongue as I licked my lips unconsciously. Below, a new sound erupted. Not a voice, but pounding. Bang, 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 hammering walls, faster, harder, mingling with scraping, slithering, clawing stone. I climbed, heart hammering near explosion. The flashlight slipped, clattered down, dead. Darkness consumed the cellar. I dared not look back. At the last step, I lunged onto the hallway floor. The air heavy still, but at least faint golden light seeped through broken glass. I sprinted down the corridor, past doors banging in the draft. Slamming the heavy front door open, cold wind lashed my face. I burst outside, breath exploding in my chest. I ran, trampling dry grass, past the well. And then I stopped short. Silence. No pounding, no steps behind, not even wind. The entire forest drowned in absolute stillness. So deep my ears rang. No birds, no insects, nothing but my own heartbeat. I turned, gazed into the well once more. Only darkness. Yet for a moment I felt that darkness. Staring back. My body prickled with goosebumps. I dared not linger another second. I plunged through the forest, leaving behind the rotting chapel and its deep well. Branches lashed my skin, resin and damp earth bitter on my tongue. I don't remember how many times I stumbled. I only knew I ran until the pale strip of road appeared. The old pickup waited, motionless, as if nothing had happened. I flung the door open, jumped in, trembling hands forcing the key. The engine roared, its sound salvation in the dreadful silence. I drove straight, no music, no cabin light, only tires grinding dirt and my ragged breath. In the rearview mirror, the forest receded, but in my mind the sound still echoed. Hello. I once thought I knew no fear, but from that night I understood there are places humans should never step, and that chapel. I never want to return. Episode 2: The Horseland and the Faceless Man. My name is Lucas Carter. The town I live in southern Ohio, has nothing but grasslands, a few horse farms, and patches of forest scattered between farmland. In this dull place, me, Ryan, and Kelly, found fun by sneaking into strange properties. At first, it was just some abandoned barns, some old junkyards. But gradually, this exploring game became a dangerous habit. Ryan once said, "One day, we'll see something we don't want to see." I laughed, replying, "That'll make it even more worth telling, right?" And then, that day came sooner than I thought. That afternoon, the sky was gloomy, heavy gray clouds drifting slowly. We walked through the dense forest, our feet crunching on the thick layer of rotting leaves. The smell of decayed wood and horse manure lingered in the wind. Kelly, the only girl in the group, grumbled as she walked. "What if we get shot? People around here don't play around." Ryan waved his hand. The landowner is famous for raising horses. At worst, we'll just get chased off. I stayed silent. Deep down, I was tense too, but curiosity was stronger. On the satellite map, this land appeared enormous. Endless fields, a few rotting houses among barns. Especially in the forest, there were shapes of rooftops peeking out like cars. We squeezed through the trees, and in front of us stood an old wooden fence. Beyond it stretched an open pasture, where several horses grazed, their coats gleaming in the evening light. The scene was oddly peaceful, but it made my spine prickle. "Look over there," Kelly whispered, pointing farther ahead. In the middle of the field, among tall weeds, were the silhouettes of cars. As we got closer, I realized it was a whole row of luxury cars, bodies covered in dust, paint peeling, but still recognizable as expensive. Mercedes, Range Rover, even a dark red Corvette rusting away. "Jesus," Ryan muttered, eyes wide. "These aren't just abandoned. Looks like a stash of stolen cars," I murmured. The air here felt strange. The tall grass, the silence, only broken by horses snorting and flies buzzing. I smelled rusted metal, musty, mixed with old gasoline. In my throat lingered a sharp, acrid taste that made me want to gag. We went deeper, weaving between the cars, careful not to make noise. A rundown camper RV lay on its side, its door ajar. Ryan glanced at me, his eyes lighting up. "Want to check it out?" I hesitated. Inside was pitch black, a faint stench of rotten food drifting out. But curiosity won. I pushed the door, it creaked open, revealing inside a few fishing rods, bags of canned food still fresh, a blanket folded hastily. Kelly gasped, "Someone's living here." I turned away immediately, my heart pounding. Just then, a foul stench overwhelmed us. No longer the smell of fuel or wood rot. It was the thick, putrid stench of decay, seeping into my nose, making me want to vomit. Ryan covered his nose, voice muffled. "From over there." We followed the smell to a crooked wooden shack. Its door was cracked open. Inside was pitch dark, the stench of death spilling out. None of us dared enter. I just shone my flashlight inside. The beam slid over old sacks piled up. They quivered slightly, as if something inside had just shifted. Kelly screamed softly, yanking my hand. The air was so thick it felt glued to my lungs. A sour bitterness spread across my tongue, and I wanted to spit, but my throat was locked tight. We left, circling another way, our palms drenched in sweat. The silence grew stranger with every step. The horses were gone. Only head-high grass remained, swaying in the breeze. I climbed onto a rock to get a better view. And that's when I saw it. Less than 50 meters away, beyond some sparse trees, there was an old wooden table. At the table sat a man. He was motionless, a black cat in front of him. But what made my breath catch was his face. He had no face. His skin stretched pale and flat. No eyes, no nose, no mouth. Just a horrifying blank whiteness reflecting the dying sunlight. I froze for a few seconds, my mind empty. Then I saw a woman standing next to him. Her eyes were dark, hollow, staring straight at me. The moment her gaze met mine, I knew we had been discovered. I stood paralyzed on the rock, unable to blink. The woman by the table suddenly tilted her head, exactly like a bird of prey locking onto its target. And then, in an instant, she darted forward. "Run!" I shouted hoarsely, leaping from the rock. Ryan and Kelly understood immediately. We bolted through the tall grass, blades slashing our faces and arms. Dry stalks cut into our skin, leaving burning scratches. My breath came in ragged bursts, the musty smell of dead grass choking me. Behind us, I heard footsteps pounding. mixed with fabric scraping against the grass. But the sound was wrong. It warped, sometimes near, sometimes far, sometimes right at the back of my neck. Kelly screamed, "She's circling in front of us!" Sure enough, in the grass, a shadow darted across, impossibly fast. I saw the dark skirt whip in the air, then vanish. Ryan grabbed my arm, panting, "This way, hurry!" We veered left, slipping on soft soil. The stench of mud rose up, foul and sticky on our shoes. Suddenly, the sound of horse hooves echoed somewhere in the field, pounding, as if a whole herd was circling us. But when I looked back, only grass swayed, no horses. I forced myself not to think, just to run. But then, a faint laugh rose. It wasn't clear, just a choked noise in the throat, half laugh, half moan. The sound surrounded us. My hair stood on end. Kelly choked. "She's everywhere." My heart hammered, each beat like a drum in my ears. I tried to focus on finding a way out. Through the tall grass, I spotted a gap leading to the forest's edge. "Over there," I pointed, and we all sprinted. But just as we were about to escape, I saw him, the faceless man. He stood at the forest's edge by a rotting tree, one hand resting on the black cat sitting still. His blank white face turned straight toward us. Though he had no eyes, I knew he was watching. My knees buckled, my whole body frozen cold. Ryan slammed into my back, shouting, "Don't stop!" We swerved, taking another path. The tall grass lashed my face, making me dizzy, my breath tearing at my chest. The stench of death still clung, swirling like mist. Then I heard something behind us. Not footsteps anymore, but a crawling sound. Nails scraping the ground, dragging, screeching with each pull. Mixed with it, heavy, hot breathing, like it was right at my neck, though I knew it had to be farther. Kelly tripped, screaming in pain. I turned back to see her sprawled on the ground, eyes wild. Ryan and I yanked her up. But in that instant, I saw the shadow of a dark skirt slide past, so fast my eyes couldn't catch it. A shrill hiss cut the air, sharp as a blade. We ran again. My heart felt ready to explode, my throat raw, my mouth full of blood from biting my lip without realizing. Finally, the forest edge appeared again. I saw the dim gray sky. Just a little further, just a little. But as my foot hit the forest edge, a whisper hissed right by my ear, "Hello!" I jerked back, eyes wide, whipping around. But no one was there, only tall grass swaying silently in the wind. We plunged into the forest, branches whipping our skin raw. Kelly gasped, her sobs blending with the pounding of my heart. Ryan ran close behind, glancing back, panic in his eyes. "Just keep running," he yelled. "Don't stop." In the forest, faint light filtered through the trees, forming patchy shadows that looked like figures running beside us. I heard our shoes crunching dry leaves, but within that sound was another rhythm. A heavy, deliberate footstep, always right after ours. Thud, crunch, thud. As if something bigger, heavier, was keeping pace with us. Kelly sobbed, voice trembling. It's following." Ryan gripped her arm tight, dragging her along. I clenched my teeth, too scared to look back. Cold sweat drenched my back, soaking my shirt. In my mouth, the metallic taste of blood mixed with iron, choking me. Then suddenly, a sound split the forest. The neigh of a horse. It echoed everywhere, long and piercing, sending chills down my spine. Then came hoofbeats, pounding, circling us, as if a herd was running around us. But when Ryan's flashlight beam cut through, there were no horses, only damp trees, mottled with moss. We veered sharply, heading for where I remembered a dirt road ran across. If we could just reach it, just see the car again. Suddenly, a whisper right by my ear, so clear my skin went ice cold. "You won't escape." I nearly collapsed, but Ryan yanked my arm hard. We tore through underbrush, thorns, slashing our skin, leaving burning streaks. And then, finally, the dirt road appeared. We burst out, gasping like drowning survivors. My car still sat at the side, damp with evening mist. I reached for the door, but froze. At the forest's edge, just a few meters away, was a white figure, the faceless man. He stood motionless, thin frame, pale skin gleaming faintly. The black cat perched on his shoulder, its golden eyes glaring at us. His face still blank, but I felt the piercing gaze from that void. We all slammed our doors shut. I turned the key, the engine roared, and without a word, I floored the gas. In the rearview mirror, his figure remained, head tilted slightly, as if curiously watching us flee. His body unmoving, only the cat shifting faintly. The winding dirt road stretched out. Dust clouds blurred the mirror. When I looked back one last time, the white figure was gone. That night, the three of us sat in my room in silence. No one spoke of what we had seen, but we all knew we'd never set foot on that land again. And in my restless sleep, I saw him again. The faceless man, still standing at the forest's edge, head tilted, silently watching. Episode 3. The Quarry and the Gunshots in the Night. I am Dylan Parker, born in Dallas, Texas, where the sun scorches your skin and gun laws are just part of life. Around here, people often joke, "Step across the wrong fence and it might be your last step." But when I was a teenager, my friends and I never took those words seriously. The only thing we feared missing out on was the thrill. And then, we found the perfect place to satisfy our reckless blood, an abandoned rock quarry on the outskirts of McKinney. Rumor had it that the quarry had towering cliffs you could jump off into a lake of crystal blue water, cold and heavenly in the sweltering summer heat. We'd heard about it from a few viral YouTube videos, and of course, we had to go. That day, I drove my old Ford with Miles and Aiden, my two best friends since high school, crammed inside. The dirt road to the quarry was bone dry, dust swirling thick into the air with every turn of the tires. The Texas sun beat down mercilessly, its glare bouncing off the red earth until my skin felt like it was burning. When we finally arrived, a massive sign stood in front of us, as big as the side of a truck. White background, red letters scrawled across, "Trespassers will be shot on sight." Miles burst out laughing, slapping my shoulder. "Those signs are just to scare people. Nobody's got time to sit around guarding this place all day." Aiden swallowed hard, eyes darting around. "But in Texas, that's actually legal. Why'd you guys drag me out here?" I said nothing, though unease prickled at the back of my mind. Still, I pressed down on the gas, rolling us into a gravel lot. Beside it, a row of corrugated metal sheds gleamed in the sun, like giant tin boxes left to bake. They were silent, windowless, lifeless, reflecting the sunlight so sharply it hurt to look. We got out of the car. The air was heavy, thick with dust, and the acrid tang of rusted iron scratching our throats. Sweat dripped salty down my face as I wiped my brow. "Let's go." Miles grinned, vaulting over the rusted fence and dropping to the other side. We followed the stony path deeper inside. Jagged cliffs loomed around us, gray and scarred, like giant wounds carved into the earth. Overhead, the sky was so blue it dazzled. Yet here in the quarry's hollow, the air felt unnaturally cold, as if the sunlight couldn't reach us. After a few minutes, the lake appeared. Its surface was deep green-blue, still as glass. From the cliff edge, I could see my warped reflection staring back at me. "It's beautiful," Aiden whispered, "but I don't like this feeling." Miles didn't care. With a shout, he hurled himself into the water. A huge splash echoed across the quarry walls, followed by his laughter as he surfaced. "This is awesome! Get down here!" I followed, plunging into the icy water. The shock made my skin sting, but adrenaline surged through me. It felt like every worry had been left behind on the cliff. We spent the afternoon hurling ourselves into the lake, from higher ledges, even swinging from tree branches before letting go. Our laughter echoed off the stone walls, bouncing back like dozens of voices joining in. But then, the echoes changed. Mixed in with our laughter, I heard something else. Not our voices, not natural echoes. It was lower, rougher, like someone was imitating our laughter, but slower, warped. I spun around, scanning the shoreline. Dust was rising on the far dirt road. A vehicle was approaching. A massive black Hummer. It rolled up to the water's edge and stopped, its engine rumbling low. The windows were pitch black, hiding whoever sat inside. My heart thudded. Then the driver's window lowered. A woman's face appeared, around 30, sun-darkened skin, eyes like black wells. She rested her elbow on the door, staring straight at us. Her voice came out raspy but sharp. "What are you doing on my land?" Silence. Only the sound of water dripping from our hair into the lake. Her eyes narrowed. She turned inside the car, her voice cold and deliberate. "John, get the gun." The black Hummer loomed at the edge of the lake, silent as a predator waiting to strike. When the woman said those words, "John, get the gun," my blood froze. Miles, still in the water, went stiff, face pale. Aiden's voice shook. We didn't know. We thought this was public land. We're sorry. We'll leave right now." The woman narrowed her eyes. The sunlight caught half her face, revealing deep lines and eyes like empty pits. She smirked, a smile that never touched her eyes. "Get out, before I change my mind." We didn't wait. Scrambling out of the water, we grabbed our shoes and ran, hearts pounding like war drums. As we passed the Hummer, I heard the back door click open, then the cold, metallic clatter of something heavy, like a gun barrel sliding into place. I didn't dare look back. Only when my old Ford came into view did I breathe again. We tore out of there, dust billowing behind us, not saying a word the entire ride home. I thought it was over. But I was wrong. 3 months later, on a stifling summer night, Miles showed up at my door with a beer in hand and a stupid grin. "Back to the quarry? I've rounded up more people. It's no fun without a crowd." I stared at him, memories of that black Hummer flooding back. But Aiden was there too, hesitant at first, then nodding. Their eyes dared me to refuse, and like an idiot I agreed. This time, there were 5 of us, me, Miles, Aiden, plus Cody and Ben. We left the car at an abandoned church a few minutes' walk away, not wanting our plates spotted. Twilight bled red across the horizon. The air was thick, suffocating, insects whining around our ears. The trail was familiar, but under fading light it felt sinister. The trees swayed, their shadows stretching like arms reaching for us. "I don't like this place at all," Cody muttered, clutching his water bottle with trembling hands. "Relax," Miles laughed, whistling. "It's even better at night." We climbed the rusted fence, slipping down toward the lake. The water lay black under the rising moon. Miles was the first to dive in, hollering with laughter. The others followed. I hung back, eyes fixed on the dirt road in the distance, the place the Hummer had appeared. Then I heard it. The faint hum of an engine. Headlights flashed at the road's end. A silver van rolled forward, creeping toward us. Oh, God! Aiden's face drained. Not again. We froze. The van stopped, headlights flooding the lake. No door opened. The windows were pitch dark. Then, bang! A gunshot split the night. The sound ricocheted off the cliffs, multiplying into dozens. Water exploded in front of us, spraying white foam. "Run!" I screamed. We scrambled for the shore, slipping on wet rock. Another gunshot cracked. Bang! A bullet slammed into the ground behind me, dirt bursting upward. My ears rang, the acrid stench of gunpowder drifting on the wind. Cody shrieked, sprinting. I yanked Aiden up as we bolted for the fence. My chest burned, each footstep echoing like gunfire. "Faster!" Ben shouted. "They're still shooting! Bang! Bang!" 2 more shots tore through the night. My legs quaked, but I didn't dare look back. Terror was the only thing keeping me upright. We clambered over the fence, knees scraping raw, blood streaking down. I glanced back, the headlights still blazed, but the van sat motionless. No one emerged, but in that harsh light I swear I saw a figure standing beside it. Tall, thin, unmoving. Its head tilted slightly to one side, as though listening to our racing hearts. We stumbled across the fence just as another gunshot screamed through the air. Bang! The echo thundered off the cliffs. A bullet slammed into a tree trunk near Ben, splintering wood across his face. He fell, screaming, until Ryan, who I hadn't realized had been trailing behind, hauled him up. We fled into the forest, branches tearing our skin, thorns ripping our clothes. My breath caught in my throat, chest on fire. My heartbeat hammered like it wanted to break free. Behind us, the van's engine roared. Headlights swept the woods, our shadows stretched long across the ground. Gravel crunched under tires, then stopped. And then came the footsteps. Heavy, steady. Someone had stepped out, someone was following. "It's coming after us," Aiden wailed, nearly sobbing. I couldn't speak, my mouth tasted of blood from clenching my teeth. We just ran. Up ahead, light flared. A white pickup truck blocked the road, headlights blazing like salvation. A bearded man leaned out the window, shouting, "Get in! Hurry!" We didn't hesitate. We threw ourselves into the truck bed, and he floored the gas, gravel spraying as we roared away. I looked back. The silver van sat in the distance, unmoving now. Beside it, the tall, thin figure remained still. Its face was swallowed by shadow, but its head was tilted, watching us flee. The truck didn't stop until we reached the highway. The bearded man turned, worry etched on his face. "You boys get shot? Anyone hit?" We shook our heads, trembling, pale as ghosts. Miles could barely stammer, Thank you, sir." The man only shook his head, lowering his voice. "Listen, don't ever go back there. In Texas, there are places that don't belong to the living." That night, I lay awake in my bed, unable to sleep. In the dark, I still heard the gunfire ringing, bullets whistling past my ears, and worst of all, the slow, deliberate footsteps in the woods echoing inside my chest. And when I closed my eyes, I saw it again, the tall, thin shadow by the silver van, head tilted to the side, motionless as stone. No eyes, no mouth, yet I knew it was staring straight at us. I realized one thing for certain. We hadn't just trespassed on an abandoned quarry. We had stumbled into someone's hunting ground, and we'd only just barely escaped this time. Episode 4, The Lakeside Mansion and the Dustless Chairs. I am Mark Evans. My cousin Daniel and I were obsessed with what the kids in town called urbex, urban exploration, or, put more bluntly, sneaking into places abandoned by others. We had explored plenty. An old school, a defunct textile factory, even a few collapsing farmhouses. But there was one place we had only heard about for a whole year, never daring to approach: the mansion by Lake Harlow. Locals said it once belonged to a wealthy family that vanished suddenly in the late 90s. The property was never sold, never claimed. The house stood still behind a rusted iron gate, swallowed by pine trees and undergrowth. From the main road, you could only glimpse a sagging roof through the leaves. Stories surrounded it, the family fleeing from debt, entangled in witness protection, or, whispered by the cruel, slaughtered to the last. But all tales shared the same ending. No one lived there anymore. One gray October afternoon, the wind howling off the lake, Daniel brought his GoPro, and I carried a flashlight and a folding knife for safety. We parked in a dirt lot near the trail, then followed a leaf-strewn path. When the iron gate came into view, a chill shot up my spine. The bars were bent as if rammed by a car. Rust flaked everywhere. Green moss clung thick. Weeds twined over it, clutching like they meant to keep whatever was inside from ever leaving. Daniel gave a nervous laugh. Jesus, looks like a B-horror flick. I didn't answer. I just pushed the gate. It groaned out a scream of grinding metal, so sharp it felt like it could rouse the whole forest from breathless silence. The path to the mansion was buried in pine needles. Each step crunched loud, resin and mildew ghosting on the wind. The deeper we went, the colder it grew, like stepping out of daylight into some separate land. And then the house revealed itself. A 3-story bulk, steep roof, wide veranda curving around. Paint peeled in great patches, exposing black-stained wood like sun-scorched skin. Windows boarded from the inside. The house looked like a dead giant, body intact, waiting in silence for intruders. Daniel panned the camera slowly. Here it is, the Forgotten Kingdom. I inhaled, the fishy stench of the lake mixing with choking rot. My chest felt pressed by an invisible weight. We circled to the back. The door was ajar. I nudged it. It swung open easily, too easily. Inside was pitch black. The air thick, smelling of old paper. Stepping in, I felt time had stopped. The kitchen was first. Cups still on the shelves, porcelain plates piled in the sink. A coffee mug upside down beside a brown stain hardened like the last morning's trace. On the wall, a torn calendar frozen at May, 1997. Daniel filmed close. They left so fast, they took nothing. I swallowed dry, my throat tasting metallic. The kitchen was so still I could hear wind squeezing through the window cracks, carrying the lake's cold breath. We moved into the living room. Sofas draped in white cloth. Dust thick enough to billow with each step. On the walls, framed family photos. Smiles at barbecues, Christmas, summer by the lake. But the light had bleached the faces pale, blank, like masks. Daniel whispered, "Feels like they vanished, in a blink." I nodded, eyes stuck on those photos, each smile warped now, mocking. We stopped at the staircase. Wood split and brittle, ready to collapse. Daniel, eager, went first. I followed. Upstairs the wind moaned louder, though the windows were shut. A neat bedroom, bed made, but dresser drawers flung open, empty. Another room littered with old newspapers, all from the same week in 1997. Classified ads circled in ink. Discreet transaction, no paperwork. My heart pounded. It felt like we weren't walking through a house, but into a shattered memory that refused to form a clear picture. Daniel whispered, trembling, "Something's wrong, Mark." I gripped the flashlight tight. we didn't yet know the real secret waited below in the basement. We walked the hall, light grazing half-closed doors. The air was heavy, like the house swallowing our breath. Daniel murmured, "Nothing up here, let's try the basement." The thought iced my skin, but curiosity made me nod. The basement door was behind the kitchen. Shut tight, hinges rusted. I pushed. It screeched long and sharp, a metallic cry. A wave of cold rolled out, stinking of rot, dust, and something tangy like iron. I shone the light. Concrete steps blotched with moss, vanishing into a cavern of black. Daniel swallowed, adjusted the GoPro, forced a grin. "Let's go." We descended, footsteps echoing, pulled deeper into the dark. My heart hammered, lungs filling with moldy damp. At the bottom, my light swept the room, and I froze. A broad basement, low ceiling, cracked concrete walls, but in the center, a circle of wooden chairs. A dozen or so perfectly arranged, all facing inward. Dust thick on most, but some were spotless, smooth, polished, as if someone had sat there hours ago. Daniel whispered, "Mark, you see that?" I nodded, my hand shaking the beam. The circle radiated a crushing weight, squeezing my chest. In the middle lay a black scorch mark, ringed with crude symbols, spirals, slashes, the numbers 9 and 3 repeating again and again. The air was suffocating. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears. Daniel stepped closer, brushed a dustless chair back. His fingers met bare, cold wood. At once, a noise thudded above. Bang! Like someone stamping on the kitchen floor. The sound rattled down, jolting us. I flashed the light at the stairs, only darkness. Daniel gasped, "Someone's up there." I signaled silence. The outside wind had vanished. Then, slow, deliberate footsteps began, thud, 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 heavy, measured, pacing across the kitchen above. Daniel and I locked eyes, both, barely breathing. Suddenly, the steps stopped. Silence. Daniel whispered, shaking, "Mark, I swear someone's here." Then dust sifted from the ceiling. Each speck glittered in our light. The old wood groaned, as though something weighty stood above. I backed into a chair. Its screech echoed. The circle seemed to shift. In the hush, I swear I heard a whisper, faint, strangled, from the very ground. "Sit down." Gooseflesh erupted, ice crawling my spine. The chair I touched scraped again, nudging inward. Another chair opposite creaked, turning its back toward us. We froze. Then, all the chairs in unison swiveled inward, chorus of shrieks filling the basement. My lungs locked. It felt like unseen necks twisting, staring. Daniel grabbed my arm, hissing, "Run!" We bolted for the stairs. My flashlight swung wild, casting warped streaks. Behind us, chairs dragged, screeching like invisible hands pulling them after us. On the first step, footsteps resumed overhead. Thud, thud, right above the stairwell. A shadow crossed the crack of light at the basement door. I choked for air. Daniel shoved me forward. We scrambled upward, half mad, barely breathing. At the top, I slammed into the door. It burst open. We tumbled into the kitchen. But it wasn't the same. Furniture overturned, photos shattered, glass spider-webbed. And on the table, dust lay thick, except for one long, clean streak, a fresh handprint. Daniel screamed, yanked me up, and we tore through the hall, out the back door. Outside, the lake wind whipped salt and cold in my face. I'd never loved fresh air so much. We sprinted across the yard to the iron gate. Before leaving, I glanced back. Through lake fog, the mansion loomed black and still. But in an upstairs window, a silhouette stood. Tall, thin, head tilted sideways. Face hidden, only its posture, watching. And then, from deep within came the sound, chairs creaking all at once, sealing the circle that had never really opened. We never returned to Lake Harlow. Daniel never uploaded the GoPro footage. When anyone mentions the mansion, we only stay silent. But sometimes at night, when the wind snakes through my bedroom doorframe, I hear it again. The creak of chairs turning, close, too close, just behind me. And I know the circle isn't finished.